Nine minutes past 6 a.m.
Rare 1939 Majestic 130, the smallest portable radio you could make with standard tube technology. And this is even more rare. The object to the right is a Majestic 130U. Uses the same chassis as the 130 on the left, but uses a permanent magnet speaker and larger batteries, made as a larger hand portable. Recently picked this up on eBay, and the only reason I went after it is its scarcity, and this particular one has only one flaw. It's missing the back. However, in the box that I just picked up recently from the same seller is an identical cabinet with the back and the loop antenna. This series of videos is going to describe and show the complete restoration of this radio. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the 130, this is the basic chassis fit into a small portable. On this side here, where these two holes would normally go, is where your A battery would fit, the filament. Then down below would be the B. Uses 3 tubes. I think this is probably a 1A7. I think that's a 1N5, and then it has this particular tube called a 1D8. This is a multi-purpose tube. It does about does the job of about 2 or 3 tubes, all in one package. And it is a superhet, despite how small and compact it is. One of the IF cores is down here, and then there's also one up front somewhere. I can't remember, it might even be here. But very tight, compact package. And like I said, the difference with this one, the small 130 used a magnetic speaker like what you'd have in the 1920s up on the top. This one, by the looks of it, uses, let me feel, yeah, that's a magnetic, permanent magnet speaker with a output transformer. So here in just a second, I'm going to go ahead and show how one of these is taken apart. Alright, the first thing we've got to do is we've got to take the knobs off. So that's with a screwdriver. We'll go ahead and start with this. That's your on-off switch. That's your volume control. Volume control wants to fight. A little bit of wiggling should take it right off. Now you got the tuning knob. Now you notice it looks kind of warped. That's normal. That's taken off with one screw. And if I am not mistaken, there is probably, no, not this one. There usually is about 2 or 3 other set screws, and yes, that is the case, and somebody broke this one. So that's going to have to be re-glued. That's a common bugaboo with this particular radio. They start pulling and tugging and snap-o, it comes right off. The rest of it is in here, and it's held by a couple of set screws. So that's going to have to be taken off and re-glued, and we'll do that at a later time. After removing the knobs, the last 2 things I had to do was remove 2 screws, and I didn't bother keeping you bored silly for me taking this apart. And then there is 1 nut that goes to this bracket that needs to be taken loose from the speaker, and now the entire chassis is free. I will be cutting both these wires because they are petrified rubber and they'll shatter upon a cross-eyed look. Those are going to be replaced. In fact, I can look now. That's going to have to be replaced as well. Classic 1939 technology. And if you notice, right there where it meets the chassis, that's all but shorted. So this whole thing is probably going to need rewiring. And I'm ready for the challenge because I have rebuild notes. If you remember, about 5 years ago, I redid all my 130s. Here's our chassis. Seems like old times again when I was working... Oh shit, piss corruption. Here's our chassis. Seems like old times because 5 years ago I was working on the very same thing. Probably about the same time 5 years ago. I can tell you what the tubes are now. 1A7, that should be a 1N5. Back here is the 1D8 multi-purpose tube. I think of it more like, if I think in terms of personal sets, this would be like a 1S5 and a 3S4 combined in one package. And then here, this is your on-off switch, your volume control, of course the tuning capacitor, and you can see right in the middle, that is where the shaft for the tuning knob got broken off. And then below here, these are the 2 holes for your first IF to tune up. Now let's look underneath. Now here we are underneath, using paper capacitors through here. I don't think this has ever been touched, just by the looks of it. I forgot to add that this not only has the first IF, it also has the oscillator coil all built in. This is the second IF, and it only has 1 trimmer. You see how odd that is compared to this one. But I think it's because oscillator and everything else is all built in here. They wanted to shield it. And you see, it's crammed full of parts. This was the smallest they could do. One of these is the speaker, probably this one. This is for the A battery, which crumbling rubber wire. And I think this one's for the B battery. So I've got a lot of rewiring to do, and I don't mind. This will be a really neat set when it's done. Here's where you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 terminals. 2 are for the oscillator, and 2 more are for the IF stage. All the red wire, I believe, is the B+, so I've got some work to do. As for the cabinet, I'm not going to be using this one. This one is labeled as a Spiegel, which would be, yeah, Air Castle, which would be for Spiegel stores. I don't know if they're still in existence or not, but I think it is. This speaker cloth, or if you want to call it that, it's actually grid mesh, like screen door material, and it was flocked. I can probably reflock this, no trouble. I think I still got my old flocking material. And a little bit of paint there, that would be for the indicator when it's on or off. Looks like this is a separate piece, but I'm not having to worry about that. I will need this cover. This is to adjust the antenna, I believe, on the tuning capacitor. I also need to take these, because this handle is all here, and the Majestic cover, or the Majestic case, doesn't have this anymore. Now let's just take a look on the inside. Now personally, I don't know what the hell is going on in here. You've got this brown wire, and it looks like at one point it was converted over to maybe a farm pack, which is not the right way to do it. It was separate A and B batteries, so this has got to go. It's covered with electrical tape along here, and then you've got in here what looks to be the remains of the original A and B battery plugs, which is fine because by the looks of it, they kept the original I can't remember what they call it, EBY. They're a manufacturer in the 20s. These made a lot of radio bake-like products, and these are from original batteries, these little sockets. Probably the same one here down here. I may even just wind up using these. I don't know yet. But all this has got to go, be rewired to where this is the separate A battery and then the two B batteries for 90 volts. If I'm having to guess, they used what was called, in Eveready speak, a 743 A battery, which was kind of a slightly larger 1.5 volt battery made in the size of a cardboard box, and then two what are called 762s. Now they stopped making 762s around 1940 because they had come out with what was called a Minimax battery, which was about half the size of a 762. So they didn't figure there was any necessary reason to keep making 762s. You can always just use a 482. It'll always fit. But I'm going to go strictly 1939Es here and make two 762s. The speaker looks like it's okay. Probably about the only thing I'll want to do. Oh, looky here. These, there's half that rubber wiring, but they're plugged. These are not soldered. There you go. They've got little plugs to them. So I can solder new wires to them and then plug them into here. So what I'm going to do here real quick, since I've got this, let's check to make sure that the speaker's worth a damn. Got my Radio Shack special here. I'm going to put it on continuity. And I'm going to put my leads. Actually, no. Not continuity. We want ohms. I'm going to put my leads up against those and see if I get crickle crackle. If I get crickle crackle, I am in good shape. I get crickle crackle. That's good news. I'm glad to hear that. Now, as to whether or not this is good or not, the output transformer, I think it probably is. I think these leads go to the transformer, which in then turn goes to the speaker. So let's try again here. Oh yeah, and I'm getting a reaction. Crickle, crackle, crickle, crackle. That's good to hear. So definitely a candidate for restoration. So we just need to take the basic guts out of it and start work.